The forest has eyes. That is not a metaphor. That is a description of your Tuesday evening in 40,000 BC. You are walking back to camp. The trees are close together. The light is failing. And something in the undergrowth is watching you with more interest than you are comfortable with. Hi, I'm your narrator. Today we're exploring why ancient humans were genuinely, viscerally, completely reasonably terrified of wild animals. And I want to emphasize the completely reasonably part, because modern humans underestimate this. We go to the zoo, we watch nature documentaries, we feel cozy about wildlife. Ancient humans were the wildlife's lunch, and they knew it. Meet Grog. Grog has survived disease, volcanoes, the dark, thunderstorms, and earthquakes. He has been through a lot. He has adapted to all of it. But here is the difference between Grog and his previous terrors. A volcano does not chase you. A thunderstorm does not make a decision about you personally. A disease does not look at you across a clearing and decide you look slow enough. Wild animals looked at Grog. They made assessments. They chose. The Pleistocene megafauna were not the animals we know today. We live in the aftermath of a mass extinction, and we have forgotten what came before. The cave bear stood nearly 1.2 meters at the shoulder and weighed up to 600 kilograms. For comparison, the largest modern grizzly bear weighs about 360 kilograms, and the grizzly is already a significant problem. The cave bear was 60% larger. It shared European caves with early humans, not because it was friendly, because caves were limited accommodation. The Smilodon, the saber-toothed cat, had canine teeth up to 28 centimeters long. That is the length of a standard ruler. Those teeth were not for biting through bone like a lion does. They were for a precision stab through the throat of a prey animal, a single lethal thrust. Smilodon weighed up to 280 kilograms. It was an ambush predator. It operated in forests and undergrowth. It did not announce itself. The first indication of its presence was typically the end of the interaction. The cave lion, Pantheraleospelea, was roughly 25% larger than any modern lion. It prowled the same territory as early European humans. The woolly rhinoceros had a horn up to 2 meters long and weighed up to 3 tons. The short-faced bear stood so tall on its hind legs, it could look in your second-story window, if you had a second story, which you did not because it was the Pleistocene. And wolves. Wolves traveled in packs, operated at night, covered vast distances, communicated with each other, coordinated attacks. They were terrifyingly intelligent. Early humans were, for a while, in direct competition with wolves for the same prey animals. Humans responded in the universal way. They told stories about the things they feared. The animals of the Pleistocene became the monsters of mythology. Scholars believe that the Greek myth of the Cyclops was inspired by ancient Mediterranean people discovering elephant skulls. The large nasal cavity in the center of an elephant skull looks exactly like a single enormous eye socket. The elephant was explained as a one-eyed giant. Dragons appear in mythology on virtually every continent that had large reptiles or unusual prehistoric bones. A culture finding the fossil of a protoceratops in the Gobi Desert wrote it into their mythology as a griffin, eagle head, lion body, because that is what the fossil suggested to them. The monsters were the real animals, imperfectly remembered through time. But early humans did not only fear animals, they also worshipped them. Cave bear skulls arranged in ritual patterns have been found at Neanderthal sites. The cave bear was sacred. The horse appears in cave art at Lascaux with extraordinary sophistication and reverence. The animals were terrifying and holy simultaneously, which is a reasonable response to something that is both beautiful and capable of killing you. Then came one of the most important accidents in human history. Somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, the exact date is debated, wolves began to approach human campsites, not for friendship, for food scraps. The bolder, less fearful wolves got closer. They got food. The more fearful wolves kept their distance. Over generations, the selection pressure worked. The camp-tolerant wolves became tamer. Humans began to reciprocate, feeding certain wolves, keeping certain pups. The wolves began to alert humans to predator presence. The humans got an early warning system. The wolves got guaranteed food. This was the best deal in evolutionary history. The wolf became the dog. The dog was Grog's first alliance with a previously terrifying predator. It was not the last. Horses were domesticated around 5,500 years ago. Massive, powerful, dangerous animals that humans turned into transportation and warfare. Cattle, which are significantly more dangerous than people realize, cows kill more people per year in the US than sharks, were domesticated around 10,000 years ago. The ox became the engine of agriculture. The ancient world also developed a complicated relationship with wild animals as spectacle and symbol. The Egyptians kept lions, leopards, and baboons in royal menageries. Alexander the Great established one of the earliest known zoos, 500 animals collected from across Asia. The Romans built the Colosseum not only for gladiatorial combat, but for venaciones, animal hunts staged for entertainment. They imported thousands of animals, lions, elephants, rhinos, hippos, leopards, bears, crocodiles. The shows were enormously popular and enormously lethal. To the animals. In the inaugural games of the Colosseum in 80 AD, 9,000 animals were killed over 100 days. Then humans won, decisively, completely, in a way that is hard to overstate. The end of the Pleistocene, approximately 11,700 years ago, saw the extinction of roughly 90 genera of large mammals across the Americas and Australia. In North America, the mastodon, the mammoth, the cave lion, the short-faced bear, the American horse, the giant ground sloth, the saber-toothed cat, the giant beaver, all gone within a few thousand years of humans arriving. Australasia lost 90% of its large-bodied fauna within 1,000 to 2,000 years of human arrival. The correlation between human migration routes and megafauna extinction is uncomfortable and well documented. The animals that terrified our ancestors were hunted to extinction by our ancestors' descendants. The cave bear, extinct around 24,000 years ago. The Smilodon, extinct around 10,000 years ago. The cave lion, extinct around 11,000 years ago. The woolly mammoth in most places by 10,000 years ago, with a small population persisting on Wrangel Island until around 4,000 years ago, when the pyramids of Giza were already standing. Grog was terrified of wild animals for excellent reasons. His great-great-great-grandchildren killed all of them. And now the grandchildren of those grandchildren are spending enormous effort and resources trying to bring some of them back. We are talking about de-extinction programs for the woolly mammoth. We are studying cave bear genetics from permafrost samples. The animals that terrified us into building campfires are now the animals we are trying to resurrect. The relationship between humans and wild animals is the longest and most complicated relationship in human history. It began in terror. It moved through worship and partnership and exploitation. And now it ends, briefly and uncertainly, with us sitting in zoos and feeling something we cannot quite name. Something that might be guilt or grief or just the specific feeling of realizing you won something you weren't supposed to win. Grog would be very confused about the zoo, but he would definitely pet the dog.